Welcome to Paul's Heart. I'm Paul, author of the book, Paul's Heart, Life as a Dad and a 35-year cancer survivor. I've spoken many times on the importance of being your own advocate, speaking up for yourself, whether you're at a doctor appointment, with the doctor, with the nurse, with a PA, or perhaps you're handling an insurance issue with a representative from your insurance company. Or perhaps you're undergoing a test or a procedure and you've got questions before you go through those. It's important that you express yourself. Get the answers to the questions you have. Make them give you the time that you deserve. There's a lot of pressure in medicine these days about getting things done real quick. Okay, your doctor appointments maybe last 10 minutes. For some of us, myself included, if you're going to review my case history, it's going to take at least a half an hour. So I can't do 10-minute appointments. And if the doctor walks through that door and expects to just pick one thing, it's not going to happen. They need to deal with me. And in order to do that, they need to study me. If I'm going to have a different doctor or a different person seeing me every time I come in, they need to know my history before they decide to do any kind of corrective action, prescribe any kind of medications. They need to know everything about me. And I do make sure that they understand where I'm coming from as a 35-year cancer survivor. But I'm going to share an incident that happened recently. And it's really, I consider it kind of silly, especially for someone of my age and with my experience of what I've gone through in my life. But recently I wrote a story about my fear of needles and injections and things like that. And I had to undergo an echocardiogram recently. And when I do that, because of my prior heart surgeries, my heart is actually shaded that it makes it difficult to see. It looks really dark and the techs aren't able to get the measurements that they need to do. Therefore, they need to hit me with a contrast to enlighten the whole area. Well, in order to do that, they've got to stick an IV in my arm. And as someone who underwent chemo 35 years ago, 36, 37 years ago, we didn't have ports back then. And because of that, the chemotherapy basically has destroyed all of my surface veins because that's where the chemo got put through. So they're basically useless. So what happens is I end up being subjected to multiple stabs. The tech thinks they find one, thinks they see one, thinks they can hit one, and they don't. And I'll get stabbed 4 or 5 times before I start getting stressed out. And I let them know about it. They don't listen to me. I tell them I'm a hard stick. Get your best person, which honestly could be an infant nurse because they're used to hitting those small veins. Or better yet, something known as the IV team. Now, let me tell you about the IV team. The IV team is a whole different group of people, different techs, who know how to find the hard veins. And they have a lot of help to do that. It's called ultrasound. So what happens is, and what happened with my last appointment, and by the way, I tried to advocate for myself by calling them ahead and said, you're going to need the IV team. I go through this every time you put me through an echocardiogram. You need to stick an IV, you need to give me the contrast, you stab me multiple times, and I'm stressed out, and then you eventually call in the IV team. They come in, they use the ultrasound, they put, oh, there's a good vein. Boom, it's in there, one shot, and they're gone. Okay, so I did that this last time. I actually called ahead. This is the first time I did that. And as soon as I sat down and the triage nurse did what she had to do, she said, okay, I'm going to call for the IV team now. She listened to me. And when the IV tech came down, he listened to my concern because I had to repeat myself. Listen, I'm a hard stick, had chemo 36, 37 years ago. You know, you're going to have to go deep on me. And that's exactly what he did. He pulls out his wand for his ultrasound, and he says, I see one right now that I want to go to. And as he's explaining to me, boom, the needle's in my arm, and he's taping me off and wrapping me up, and I'm good to go. Now, I also had another test later that afternoon where I was also going to need an IV. And again, advocating for myself and wanting to eliminate the need for yet a second IV being put in my arm, I simply asked the question, can we leave this IV in my arm for the later test? And the two departments got in touch with each other and discussed it and said that they could. So as soon as I got done with that echocardiogram, the IV stayed in my arm, they wrapped it up, off I went to my next appointment, and they were able to use that IV. I finished that appointment, IV came out, Band-Aid went on, and I went about my business. And for the first time in a long time, I had no stress because I advocated for myself. I made sure that they heard me. Because the IV tech even said it. He goes, I don't see any veins near the surface that anybody can ever use. You've got to advocate for yourself. There's no reason for you to carry that stress, that anxiety over anything, whether it's any other kind of test, any kind of procedure, waiting for results of scans. We call that scanxiety. Or, like I said, when dealing with your doctor, if you don't think your questions have been answered enough and he's like, I gotta go, I've spent enough time with you according to corporate, I gotta go. No, make them talk to you. Okay? And if your doctor wants you to undergo something and an insurance company says, no, we don't think that's necessary. Okay? Get a hold of your doctor. Get your doctor to advocate for you. They're your patient. They know you best, and they're the best ones to argue with a pen pusher sitting at a desk who doesn't know anything about you other than the answers that they're getting from a book that they're turning through that says, nope, we don't let them do this, we don't let them do this, we don't let them do that. Advocate for yourself. You'll be glad that you did. It's hard in the beginning, but once you learn to do it and you learn that you can get the results when you present yourself calmly, when you keep in mind the results that you want to have and how to get there. Speak for yourself, develop your voice. And if you need help, get somebody to stand with you when you do this. Maybe even your doctor or the nurse. But you've got to advocate for yourself. It makes a difference. Until next time, this is Paul's Heart.